Dystopia warning. Obviously, it has been a month, and multiple coexisting atrocities are occurring simultaneously. I definitely chose the wrong month to give up drinking. I don't know if anyone else has said this yet, but well done, America. Well done. If you voted for or let this happen. I can't be the only one thinking that they should just let that asteroid, just hit the White House. People are saying, oh, Trump, he'll go down in history as such and such. We won't have history. And if there is history, it'll be written by, the AI, owned by the victors. Because there's no two ways about it. What's going on in America at the moment is a coup. The stupidest, most obvious coup known to man. Now, I'll level with you. For the first time in 5 years, I considered stopping making political content altogether. Not just because I'm harrowingly aware of what's coming over the hill, as I said in my video just after Trump was announced as the winner. Not that we have such a thing as free and fair elections anymore, no. Not in the age of technocracy, subverting and taking over democracy. In an age where they're not even trying to hide it. No, they don't need to bust out perception management to maintain, the state of hyper-normalisation anymore. No, they're just going nuts out. The days of surreptitiously, throwing out dead cats or eaten dogs, they're long gone. This is just full fat, unabashed fascism. It's all in plain sight, from Nazi salutes on the global stage, to wholesale data theft, to Trump allowing Elon Musk and his incel army of hackers without security clearance to hijack the treasury. I don't even think even Trump could stop it. If anything, he's compromising and exposing himself as much as anyone else. And I'm not just talking about the way that he exposes himself to young girls, probably, all the time. What? The Broverlords want to rule the world, yeah, but they also want to uninstall democracy as we know it. They know capitalism has failed, that the aforementioned hypernormalisation has a shelf life. They live in paranoid, secure compounds for a reason. It's like the Manson cult meets Silicon Valley. This is a disinformation war. This is chaos. This is Revenge of the Nerds 2025. Jesse Waters on Fox News the other day proved how little they're trying to hide what they're doing. He described the technique as a 21st century information warfare campaign, more accurately described as a disinformation warfare campaign.
We are waging a 21st century information warfare campaign against the left. What you're seeing on the right is asymmetrical. It's like grassroots guerrilla warfare. Someone says something on social media, Musk retweets it, Rogan podcasts it, Fox broadcasts it, and by the time it reaches everybody, millions of people have seen it.
He called it free money.
It's free money.
He's a weird looking rooster, isn't he? He kind of looks like if Ross from Friends had loads of filler, Botox, and went on to kill many people. And there's a reason why they're all latching on to free speech. It's to give the illusion that they're protecting civil liberties and rights whilst behind the scenes systematically removing them. It's all free speech from Musk, isn't it, whilst banning the word cisgender on Twitter. Boosting far-right disinformation while suppressing left-wing voices in the so-called town square. You see, what they're referring to isn't free speech, no. It's freedom from regulation. It's freedom from consequences. They want the freedom to let hate speech flourish because that's how they influence elections at home and abroad, while simultaneously radicalising the masses with their hate propaganda. Outrage, fear, panic, bigotry, it's a currency, and so is attention. And there's a reason why all these tech bros, like Adolf Hitler and Napoleon Dynamite, are themselves preparing for the downfall of society. It's because they know how this ends. Because they've joined forces with the devil. Because all they care about is money and power. Because they're desperately trying to outrun, the version of themselves as a teenager that nobody wanted to fuck. I honestly don't think that I've ever seen a more sickening spectacle than an elite of Nepo baby billionaire men, proudly removing not only basic rights but resources from some of the poorest, most vulnerable people on the planet, while simultaneously making those people scapegoats and hate figures. They could end world hunger. They could stop suffering globally, but what do? This. And what the far right is doing is nothing new. It's the same behaviour, the same agenda echoing through the ages, just with slightly different targets. They follow the same MO. spreading fear, hate, panic about a particular race or religion or demographic via propaganda. In the old days, Hitler, he used the caricatures of the Jewish people, didn't he? Nowadays it's the Muslims or the trans people. They package all this as a future threat. They make people fear what's going to happen, according to them, whilst very cleverly using nostalgia as a marketing tool. Paint a rose-tinted view of the past, golden age thinking, the good old days. People believe it. Why? Because they're afraid, because they're too lazy to fact check or think critically, because the lie is repeated often enough, because the media fails to spell out the facts, because they're focused on clicks to make money. People also believe it because they want someone to hate or to blame or to feel more powerful than, because their lives are worse, because of billionaires. But most importantly, the reason that people believe it is because what they're made to feel matters more to them than facts. You still get people claiming that the press is biased to the left. When I see that, I don't know whether to laugh, cry or punch my phone, frankly. Left-wing voices are suppressed on every social media platform. As a woman, I can't even call out a man that has sent me a dick pic or abuse because I will get my account taken down. Virtually every paper in Britain is run by a right-wing billionaire expat, if they're even British to begin with, many of whom are above the law and the government. They even create their own Ofcom defying side project news outlets like GBBs, upon which they claim that they're patriots whilst defending the actions of people that are obvious traitors like Trump or Farage. We have a right-wing agenda blasted at us 24/7. And then people in the press turn around and go, oh, how have we ended up with reform doing so well? They spin the lie that Britain is naturally conservative, as if any of this is remotely organic. Reform themselves get support from hate bots which are based offshore, flooding social media with scary, divisive, factually inaccurate nonsense that is wildly racist but supports GB News and supports reform. I had some moron on Twitter the other day, I can't remember what his username was, probably like please touch it Elon 457. So why aren't you considering the number one issue to Britain, immigration? It's not the number one issue. The number one issue to most people is being able to, use the NHS. Or their nan not putting feet pics on OnlyFans in order to try and pay her bills. The only reason immigration got back on the agenda? Because they've made it the agenda. They've systematically, deliberately made immigration an issue. Spread panic and fear about immigrants, used dehumanising languages that would have been used in Nazi Germany, to the point they tried to burn down asylum hotels whilst chanting "Stop the Boats" a Tory slogan. It's by design. Yet the moment that someone like Farage is questioned by what he refers to as the legacy media, he'll turn around and try and claim it's some kind of coup against him, when it's the legacy media that makes his far-right talking points go mainstream by platforming him uncritically most of the time, but all of the time, letting them get away with the fact they've got a wife beater amongst their 5 MPs, not talking about all the trips to Russia. People like Tice, Farage probably get on, not just because they generate clicks and outrage, but because they probably went to school with the executives. Because this is how it works. There's no meritocracy. There's not even any evenly weighted coverage. Farage isn't the zeitgeist. He's manufacturing the zeitgeist because he has the money and the links. It's that simple. All whilst blaming the very people that put him there in the first place, the so-called legacy media. And this is where the Labour government comes in, and my anger at them for not doing what's required to counteract this. They are doing some good stuff. The NHS waiting list is reducing. They fulfilled their pledge of 2 million NHS appointments within the first 5 months during a quad-demic. Then you had the right picking it apart, saying, oh, well, that's compared to when the NHS workers were on strike. Who got them out of strike action and paid them properly? Is that dominating the agenda? No. That is. Because their comms are unbelievably shit. What the press lobby focused on? Got Chris Mason at the BBC running a news story on how Rachel Reeves, when she worked for the Bank of England, borrowed 25p for the vending machine and never paid her mate back. But there is a fatal flaw in Labour's approach. Not least their infuriating approach to immigration. Immigration has always economically benefited Britain. But what they're doing by focusing on immigration is they're legitimising the right-wing viewpoint. And by trying to appease them, it's not going to result in votes or even basic respect. No. It'll only give shills like Farage more power and make the Overton window shift further right. And all those knuckle draggers will vote reform anyway, and we will all be fucked. They need to take a stand. Implement press reform. Because unlike social media, the press can be regulated if there's a will to do it. It is one information source that can be made to act with integrity, and their inaction on it is baffling. We're at the stage where Farage is a spokesperson for Trump. Trump is a spokesperson for Putin. It's quite ironically like a game of Russian dolls, except instead of dolls, they're all ugly, treacherous cunts. And since Trump's comments on Zelensky, which were frankly mental, Truss, Braverman, etc., they're all quiet, aren't they? For the first time in months, Reform, Tice, Farage not plastered all over the news or the radio, because what Trump said was indefensible. Trump blaming Zelensky for Russia invading them is like telling a rape victim they asked for it, which is actually quite on brand for Trump, isn't it? A man that's also trying to lean on Romania to kind of go easy on the Tate brothers. Like birds of a feather, offenders stick together. I'm just sitting here thinking how ironic it is that, Brexit was the dry run for Trump in terms of political strategy. And here we are full circle with Trump's baffling, insane behaviour, probably expediting our return to the EU. We can only hope. Because Trump doesn't care about peace. Are you mad? All he cares about is plundering the natural resources of pillaged lands. He's essentially stealing from the corpses caused by wars waged by men that he stands shoulder to shoulder with, like Putin and Netanyahu. He wants to take what they've got and then build casinos on their burial sites because he's a fucking psychopath. And you might wonder why I'm focusing on America, besides the fact that what's going on there is objectively mental. One of the biggest reasons why is because these arseholes are all linked. It's like the human centipede. What they're trying to do there, traitors like Farage and Reform are already trying to do here and have been for some time. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, I was tempted to just stop because it feels futile. Not to mention that as a woman doing this for 5 years, I have taken a beating. And then that thing that's kind of become a meme kind of popped into my head, which is, people saying, have you ever wondered what you'd do during Nazi Germany? Well, it's whatever you're doing now. And then there's also the fact that the community that I have keep me sane. And this all is designed to wear us out. I felt a bit silly for making the video, which spelled out all the worst case scenarios. Little did I imagine that a whole bunch of them would come true within the first month. As long as we've got a Christian white Taliban taking away the rights of vulnerable communities, including fellow women, I'm going to call it out. And then there's also the fact that left-wing voices, progressive voices, are massively diminished. So the plan is to keep on keeping on. But we can all simultaneously curse the fact that of all the time, through the ages, we were unfortunate enough to be born into this absolutely fucked timeline. Anyway, it's good to be back. And until next time, I'd say don't have nightmares, but